This proves the Edmonton Oilers are all in, as they're ready to stop talking, and they're also ready to start playing, as game one isn't until tomorrow night. But the NHL Media Day started today with lots of very interesting quotes from both management and coaches. But all that more today on Oilers Digest, as the Oilers also make an organizational signing within the AHL's Bakersfield Condors. We'll get into that before we get into the Stanley Cup Final Media Day. But first, 84% of you have not yet subscribed to the channel. I mean, if that's not a sign, folks, I don't know what is. You know, the Oilers winning their first cup in 1984. You know, they're very close to all 16 wins in the Stanley Cup playoffs there, whereas 15.9% of you have subscribed to the channel. So if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below for any and all Oiler content. Now, I know we're trying to get to the media day here, folks, but the Oilers making a signing as signing season continues. You know, back in the early spring, the Oilers did make some European signings, some college free agent signings, but they are making another signing of their own with the signing of Roby Jarventie. Now, back in March, it was reported that he was leaving the organization to go back home to his home country of Finland there to play with Tampere. But the Oilers this morning have signed forward Roby Jarventie to a one-year, two-way contract extension with an AAV of $775,000 there. Now you're asking, well, why did he say he was going back to Finland when he was going to eventually sign with the Oilers? From Jason Greger, here's says the Oilers signed Jarventie to a one-year, two-way deal today. Jarventie signed a contract in Finland in March, but he only did that as a backup, as he and his agent weren't sure if Edmonton would resign him. He has an out clause, as his goal was to remain with the Oilers there. You can see his AHL stats with the Belleville Senators, you know, a lot better than the only two games that he's played with Bakersfield, though, even though he did have 2 points, but a knee injury has been bothering him his entire career there. So a bit of a last kick at the can there for Roby Jarventie, so to sort of prove himself at the Oilers training camp and to sort of battle into one of those bottom six spots, and if not, probably will head back to Finland. But all the best to Roby. I mean, all the scouting videos I've seen of him in the Senators organization, you know, they weren't the worst videos I've watched there, and it's always nice for competition in the bottom six, and if not, more depth for the Bakersfield Condors. But that's the smaller news out of the way. But folks, Cup Miss Eve, yes, we still have to wait one more sleep for game one of the Stanley Cup Final. This time it starts in Edmonton rather than having to make the trek down to Florida. There is, it's the Oilers in Panthers game one tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Mountain there on Sportsnet and CBC. I'm sure it'll be on probably all of those related networks there. And I mean, some history in the making here, or hopefully in the making. See, back in 1983, Wayne Gretzky and the Oilers losing to the juggernaut New York Islanders during their dynasty in the early part of the 1980s there, but they got revenge in 1984, beating the Islanders in 5 games. And we fast forward to the 2008 Stanley Cup Final, the upstart Pittsburgh Penguins there with Sidney Crosby losing in 6 games to the Detroit Red Wings, but winning in 7 the next year after. And then here we have Connor McDavid, Captain Connor, number 97, losing to the Florida Panthers in 7 games there. And what does the second installment of the rematch bring for this team? Hopefully it's good things. But when it comes to Kris Knoblauch in getting prepared for the Florida Panthers, and he's asked if, you know, the Oilers were, I don't want to say intimidated, but if they're ready for the challenge of Florida's forecheck. Says we got our share of players that like that physicality too. Certainly don't think we're shy of that kind of play. Even from last year, probably the best way to counter that is just moving the puck well. The longer you hold on to the puck, the more time they get to get in and finish checks. It's important that we move it quickly, but also precisely. If you're sloppy with the puck during the game, you're probably chasing it for the most part. There you can see the Oilers are built for that Florida forecheck there. You can see, you know, guys like Corey Perry don't shy away from it, even though, you know, he 40 years old. Evander Kane, last year in that Cup Finals, he was very hurt, trying to get the Oilers to the promised land there, but eventually had to bow out of that series. But he is very healthy and very ready to go there, especially when it comes to, you know, the other Oilers from last year's team. I mean, McDavid and Draisaitl, the obvious is the obvious there, but, you know, Adam Henrique, Connor Brown, Matthias Janmark, and especially on the back end there, that is built to outlast that Florida forecheck there. Pretty much all 6 of these guys can move the puck. You know, Ekholm and Bouchard, Nurse Kulak, and then Wallman and John Klingberg. But a big part of that will be Stuart Skinner there. But from, Chris Johnson here, bit of mind games from head coach Kris Knoblauch says Connor Brown is a game time decision for game 1 of the Cup Final tomorrow. But, I think he's ready to go there. It's just a smokescreen there from Knoblauch. Sounded like Connor Brown dealt with an illness during practice this morning. I mean, the guy has had everything this playoff run, an illness, hit to the head there from Alex Petrovic of the Dallas Stars, and then the foot problem that he's had since game 5 of the Vegas Golden Knights series. But, I mean, if anyone can outlast it, it is Connor Brown there. And another big part is Stuart Skinner from Stan Bowman. He was asked if he thought about trading for a goalie at any point of the season. I mean, he didn't say no, but what he had to say about Stuart Skinner is this: that Stuart has a great demeanor for a goalie. He's a very even keel guy. He has some ups and downs, and people focus more on the downs, but he has more ups than downs. We wouldn't be here without the way he has played. A lot of goaltending is the mentality, and his ability to deal with that adversity is impressive. Hearing from Stathletes, I mean, some tremendous numbers ever since he took over for Cal Pickard in the Vegas series. I mean, the first 2 starts against the LA Kings and then game 3 against the Vegas Golden Knights weren't in, the script for Stuart Skinner here, but ever since then, he has locked it down. I mean, since May 12th, bit of a cherry pick stat, but I mean, it makes Stuart Skinner look fantastic, so we'll just run with it. But since May 12th, he's been first in overall save percentage, slot save percentage, rush save percentage, but he's been, not first, but he's also had some great categories here with the scoring chance save percentage, 649 compared to an 865 since the first 3 starts, and a goal saved above expected. I mean, he's completely turned it around, minus 4.55 there in the first 3 starts, and then almost saving 5 goals saved above expected there with 4.75. So Stuart Skinner has completely turned it around. He's looking to rewrite the storybooks alongside all of his Oiler teammates there. And then Corey Perry says he's never seriously thought about retiring, and he won't be doing that this summer. He intends to play a 21st NHL season in 2025-26 there, so we don't know if it'll be with another team or the Edmonton Oilers. As you can see there, he only signed for 1 year there with the Oilers, and he becomes a UFA on July 1st there. But, not only is Corey Perry an important part to this Oiler team, but also, like I said, the obvious one with Connor McDavid. But when it comes to this Oiler team and, just the way they've dealt so far during these playoffs, they're making sure that everyone's, had an even amount of ice time there, just trying to roll all 4 lines there, not trying to get injured. I mean, Zach Hyman is the only main piece missing from this puzzle. But when it comes to Kris Knoblauch and dealing with, the differences from last year in this year, says I think not only with injuries, but we've been able to play fewer games. We've had long breaks between 2 series. Last year, we never had that. The 7-game series against Vancouver was tough. Dallas felt like it took a much bigger toll on us. Right now, are we 100% healthy? No, not quite as healthy with Hyman being out, but it will be a huge loss. We're going to need guys stepping up for that. But overall, I would say we're in a little bit better position physically. There you can see there last year, McDavid and Draisaitl, 18 games played in the 2024 playoffs. I mean, lots of ice time, not only together, but also not together there with the time on ice. And then compare that to this year, I mean, the load has been a little easier there. I mean, 16 games played, but also significantly less time on ice for those two. But, a healthy McDavid and Draisaitl will be the catalyst between these 2 teams here. I mean, McDavid said we still have our best hockey left in us. I mean, if that's not scary, if you're Florida, I don't know what will. But when it comes to Stan Bowman and just his thoughts on Connor McDavid, how driven he is, just his mindset, talking to him, says it's all about the glory, all about, the prize at the end. Said the first time I talked to Connor in the summer after I started, and all he talked about was, I just want to win the cup. We didn't talk about anything else. I mean, he had a wedding last summer, and all he's thinking about is the Stanley Cup. This is his singular focus. He's accomplished anything and everything you can individually accomplish in the sport. He's incredibly motivated and driven to win. There's no one else you want to go to battle with. Right now, he's on a mission. And Connor McDavid, even with his media day interviews, the man has been stone faced the entire time. He realizes what his goal is, and he does not want to lose for a second year in a row. I mean, watching that game 7 back over and over and over again, having that thrown in your face, Connor McDavid will do anything in his way to make sure Edmonton gets that parade this summer. But that is it for today's video. Thank you very much for supporting the channel here. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and give me your thoughts, your last minute thoughts. I mean, tomorrow we'll have another preview video, but your final thoughts before the Cup Final starts. I'm very interested to see what you all have to say in the comments. But that is it for today's video, folks. We still got one more night without hockey. I don't know how I'm going to live without it, but we still have lots to look forward to. But take care. Have a great rest of the day. I'm Matt.